Our program today is about rain gardens and rain barrels, and this is just an overview of what we'll be talking about today. What is a rain garden? How do they work? The benefits of them, their design and maintenance, because no garden is maintenance free, and some examples of rain gardens that we have here in the state. What is a rain garden? It's actually an attractive landscape area in a low spot, not necessarily in an area where water stands. We really don't want to place them in an area where water stands, but it's in a low spot where you might have some trouble with water. It catches the runoff from parking lots, from your driveways, downspouts, even from the land itself. You usually plant it with native, both drought and non-drought plants. The deep roots of the plants that you plant there are usually very good about taking up that excess water, and by slowing that water down, you're allowing it to seep back into the ground where it really should be anyway. It then, in the process, will reduce the runoff. We do not place rain gardens in wetlands, nor are they a wetland themselves. Though I have recently seen some designs that are OARDC is actually working on some designs where they've actually put a wetland feature into a rain garden setting, and they did 2 years of research on that, and what I saw was really outstanding. They have an example in the city of Worcester right now where it's actually a wetland in the center of a rain garden, and it holds water but not enough to actually create a mosquito problem, which we'll talk about later. The amount of water is dramatically reduced from storm episodes. Here in Athens, we see a lot of streets that kind of look like this in a storm episode. And so this will help us reduce that. These streams, we have in our urban areas, we have an increase of pavement, not only for roadways, but for driveways and for parking lots. And in fact, the buildings themselves become an impermeable spot. The rain coming, landing on a roof, it can't go into the ground, it goes into your downspout, and then down, usually off into a driveway or into a storm drain. So these areas are where we want to perhaps concentrate on rain gardens, where we can slow that water down long enough for it to actually seep back into the ground. Okay? The rain gardens are also very beneficial because they improve water quality. When you're talking about parking lots, driveways, and roadways, you're talking about possibly large quantities of ice control. So you got salts there and grit of a variety of kinds. Parking lots, as a car sits there, it might leak any kind of fuels or oils, even gasoline. And so all of those things in a rain event are caught up in the water as it gushes across the driveway, and that ends up in our streams because much of this runoff goes into storm drains, but those storm drains are water that's not usually treated before it ends up in a stream or a river. So the Hocking River here in Athens County catches a lot of that. And so you can reduce that by 65 to 90%. The study that you see there, that US EPA study, actually can be seen on their web if you want to take a look at the EPA web. It's a very low-cost way of making a BMP or a best management practice. It decreases the cost of your infrastructure, your gutters, your drain pipes. The cost of it is approximately $2 to $12 per square foot. And this estimate right here is just an example, and this was the cost that was taken. What you see below here was taken from the Division of Wildlife's rain garden there in Columbus. So you see that the plant cost here was approximately 213 plants, about $2 a unit, for a total of $435. But look at the cost of the mulch and the compost, and they put a tree in this one. And by the way, trees are not usually something that we place in a rain garden, but there are locations where they're good. When you design a rain garden, you do not want to place it in an area that already has trees. To disturb the ground as you need to amend the soil in any way might disturb the roots of that tree enough that you might do damage to that tree. But if you're planting a tree in, then the tree will become part of the design, part of the rain garden itself. Okay, and then miscellaneous supplies. So the average, this example here was a 275 square foot rain garden, and it was just about $2 per square foot. Now, of course, this doesn't really take into consideration if you were to hire a contractor to actually excavate out your rain garden for you. But most rain gardens in the typical urban setting are small enough that you really shouldn't have to get like huge equipment in there to do that. Okay. Okay, they're aesthetically pleasing. All of them that I've seen and the pictures of others that I've seen, they're just really an attractive thing. So if you're looking at, curbside appeal, this is an improvement for your home, for even businesses. And they're putting them along parking lots, so it's beautifying parking lots, less landscape to mow. You can be very creative with them. They are also beneficial to wildlife. The plants that you choose, actually, did you get another one there? Okay, sorry about that. The plants that you choose can attract birds and butterflies and bees. These are our pollinators, and for those of you that are wildlife lovers, our pollinators in many ways are in trouble because of some of the insecticides that we use them to kill the bugs that we don't want eating up our plants, but at the same time, they are also killing our pollinators. So it's good to have an area that you don't plan to spray. It's promoting our pollinators.
Is this what you're doing? Is that this rain gardens,
yes,
stormwater management?
Yes.
Okay, well, is that set up here or in the arena?
No, set up here.
Okay, I was wondering whether you're telling these people.
If you would like, maybe they're waiting on that. Tell them it's taking place in the tent. Okay. So it is also a source of food and shelter, and of course when the water is there after rain. Okay? Here's an example of that. We hesitated in using the little fawn in the picture down below because for some folks they don't really want to attract the deer, because if you've had trouble with deer eating your plants around your house, obviously this picture is not going to be pleasing to you, but gee, it was too cute to pass up, so went ahead and put that in there. Okay, some folks are worried about this. Trapping this water here. Are we going to have a mosquito problem? But actually, rain gardens are actually a mosquito death trap because the water is there, but it should percolate into the soil in a matter of 24 hours. You should not have water sitting in your rain garden in the first 24 hours after a rain event. And therefore, it might be there long enough, actually, for the mosquitoes to come along, lay their eggs, but in 24 hours it's dried up. So their efforts are in vain. So it dries out and it actually can eliminate mosquitoes. Okay, in designing the site assessment, you want a low area that would naturally collect water but not have water sit there long periods of time. Because the reason for that is that you're going to have to analyze your soil there. And if you have water sitting for more than the 24-hour period when you do your permeability assessment, if it's sitting there longer than that, then you might have an area that would have to be excavated out in a major way to be used as a rain garden design. So you want a low area, but not necessarily one where the water is sitting for long periods of time. Close proximity to downspouts, parking lots, stormwater outlets are good places. It should at least be 10 to 12 feet away from your foundations, okay, so that you're not actually bringing water back to the foundation of your home. So you need to get it out and away. You need to call OOPS, of course, and make sure you know if you're in a rural setting, you want to know where your septic system and that sort of thing is. Any outlets that might be underground, and as I mentioned earlier, no large trees. Okay? So now you want to investigate your soil to help with the sizing of your garden. How big is it going to be? Okay. I have a handout here that actually that's on your thing there, but I wanted to pass this out as a separate handout because this kind of thing is actually important. You know, everybody seems to be kind of warm. Boyd, if you want to go ahead and turn that back on, I'll talk over that because it's a very warm day. We've had, as you guys all know, it's been extremely hot here in Athens County. Let me go ahead and turn this one this way. And I'll just get my booming voice going and talk over it. Okay, in sizing your garden, you want to calculate approximately the drainage area of your roof, your driveway, sidewalk, whatever you plan to gather the water from. And you want to get square footage. So length and width, okay, is what you want to estimate there. Then you want to dig a test hole to determine infiltration. Fill that test hole with water and check after 24 hours to measure what the water level is. Like I said, you don't want a lot of water sitting in that hole after the 24 hours. The depth of your hole should be about 6 inches, or if it drains 6 inches in 24 hours, you can make your rain garden 6 inches deep, 3 inches deep, okay? For an example there, it says I have a 140 square foot rooftop. My test hole drained in 4 inches in 24 hours. My rain garden will be 4 inches deep and will be 60 square feet. In other words, 240 divided by 4. Okay? Most rain gardens are 4 to 8 inches deep, so you can see that it's really not that necessary to get yourself a backhoe if you're only going down 8 inches or 12 inches. You know, if you're able to get somebody that can help you dig that, if you need help having someone dig it, but it's not necessary to hire someone with a backhoe to get in there. All right. One of the other calculations there that you might want to remember, and this is a common question that we have, and that is how much rainwater am I actually going to be gathering? So if you have a pencil, you can write this down. You'll take the total area, the square foot that you're draining, multiply that by 0.625. The reason why we have that fraction is because that is the average amount gathered in a 1-inch rainfall event. Okay, so that's where that number came from. It's one of those things that somebody crunched those numbers. Some scientists did that somewhere. You multiply that by the annual precipitation of your area. And here in Athens County, that's 38 inches or 38.6 inches per year is our average rainfall in Athens County. Okay, so if you're an Athens County person, you know, you'll want to use that figure. And that equals the rain gathered per year at your site. Okay? Okay. All right, now excavation, outlining your garden. This is something that will be individual for you, wherever you choose to make the site. Some people like to have it round, some people like to have it kidney shaped. Be creative. You can see that this one here is a kidney shape. Some of the things that you'll want to remember is if you're putting it close enough to other features in your yard or near your home, can I get my lawnmower through between that feature and my garden? Because it may become a problem for you if you only have 24 inches between that feature in the garden and your rain garden, and you've got a deck that on your mower that's 32 inches. You may end up having to weed eat that or hand trim it. So keep that in mind. Also, if you put any curves in it, make sure that that your mower can make that curve. The way I have designed those before, take a length of garden hose, get a couple of designs going there, and run your mower around it. Can you make that curve? You know, if you can make that curve, then that's a good design for your yard. Okay? You'll want to remove the sod, dig to approximately the size and depth that you need. and till up 2 inches to improve infiltration. Okay, excavation. You want to amend the soil with 2 to 3 inches of a composted material, something that you either purchase, or if you're like me, I have a composted home. Those of you that live in the city, they do have composting ordinances. You're not allowed to have a compost pile out behind your house in the city of Athens. Not sure what they have in Nelsonville, but I do know that it's prohibited in Athens. So you might want to have some kind of composting container. Find out what your area will allow. But that will also help you save a little bit of money if you can bring your own composting in. As it says there, commercial-sized gardens, you may have to replace some of the soil and even putting an underdrain. And later on, you'll want to take a look at our displays over here because I have 2 different examples. One that has the underdrain with a gravel base in it, and the other design is actually at the Farm Science Review location near London, Ohio. They actually put in, so if any of you are planning to go to Farm Science Review, you might be able to see that. They actually used all recycled materials in there. So it really cost them, the only cost there was the cost of the plants. All right? So that was quite an efficient garden that they put in there, and it's just layering of mulch and compost and then newspaper. Okay? Slope the sides to a 3 to 1 and then flat in the center. You don't want your garden to actually be a bowl. You want the bottom to be flat. You want to increase that surface area where the water can actually percolate back into the soil. So don't create a bowl. You want that ground to be flat. Once the bed is excavated, fill it with water before you do anything else to make sure that that percolation is there. That you're going to, before you go planting, you want to make sure you get the flowers or plants in there and the thing doesn't percolate correctly, and there you have all those plants in there. If you're going to, then you might have to excavate, get back again. So make sure that the garden is actually working properly. So put some water in it. Consider using edging to try to keep your grasses out too. The other thing that I might also, if you're using a downspout and that's what's going to feed your rain garden, don't disconnect the downspout to whatever it's connected to right now before you direct it towards the rain garden. Because if you decide to plant on Tuesday and Monday is a real big rain episode, you might not be able to get into your garden right away. It might be just a little too moist for you to plant. Okay, planting. When you're considering your plants, consider native perennials. Native plants always are better when you're planting in a location. You may see a beautiful plant in a magazine somewhere and say, I love that plant, but make sure that that plant will grow in your area. And also when you're buying your stock, ask where the stock was started. A perennial that was first grown and hardened off in South Carolina might not do well in Athens County. Our winters are harder than South Carolina, and that plant acclimatized itself to South Carolina. It might not do that well up here. So buying locally, buying in a local area, if you're purchasing your plants, it's wise to find out where actually they were grown. If you have plants already and you want to just take starts, or you have a friend, that's a good way to do some trading. Make sure that they're shade or sun tolerant, considering where your rain garden is going to be. Height, bloom time, color, all of that. Make sure that you know what the plant's going to look like when it's mature. It looks wonderful in the pot. It may end up to be a plant that's 36 inches high, and that's not going to work when it's mature. So make sure you understand how the plant's going to grow, okay? Make sure that your plants are located according to their tolerance for water. Now, if you have a downspout, wherever that water is coming in initially, that's where you want to put plants that have a high tolerance for large quantities of water. On the same token, those that are the furthest away from your downspout or wherever your source of water is, they may sit in that garden without water for a while. So some of them have to be a little bit drought tolerant. Okay, so keep that in mind. You might consider labeling your plants. Makes an excellent educational tool. Okay, mulch. 1 to 2 inches a layer of mulch after the planting. You can eliminate some of that if you put newspapers down. If you happen to get the newspaper, or just collect newspaper, 6-inch or a 6-sheet layer of newspaper. Well, all you have to do is just cover the newspaper, you know. Now the next year you'll want to replenish your mulch, but that will keep your costs down if you're not purchasing mulch for 3-inch deep mulch. If you don't use the newspaper, you'll want at least a 2-inch probably mulch base there. Make sure that it's a shredded hardwood, not the chunks, the chunky cubes or nuggets. They float. And when that major event comes along, they may in fact just float away out of your garden. Okay, so use the shredded mulch. Okay, this mulch, by the way, helps to keep the moisture level and also your weeds out. Maintenance. As I said earlier, no garden is maintenance free. Anytime you see those garden programs and they say maintenance free gardens, they're kind of nuts, I think, because no garden is totally maintenance free. You can reduce the amount of maintenance in a garden. You can reduce it, but you can never totally get rid of it. Okay, so there is some maintenance. You want to minimize walking or trampling in the garden because you don't want compaction. You actually want that to remain fluffy. And in fact, jumping back to your plant selection, if you're using native plants, sometimes their roots die back a bit, and in doing so, they keep pockets, open channels for the water to percolate through. So that's another plus for native species. But you don't want that compaction. That's the reason why water isn't percolating down into the ground in the first place, usually, is compactions. So, and you'll see this a lot around new homes where they've had the construction, all the equipment in. That area can become quite compacted. You want to make sure early in the spring to eliminate any weeds, and then to make sure that your mulch is at a proper level to keep the additional weeds out. All right? So as it says there, keep a 2-inch cover. Remove and replace any plants for more or less shade. Minimize any sediment in the garden. By that, if you have an area where it looks as if it's building up, you might want to replace that with rocks, you know, to prevent that silting from coming in. Watch for gullies or areas where erosion might be taking place. And remove any leaf buildup at the areas where the source of your water. Okay? As I said before, do not disconnect your downspouts before planting. Okay? And remember your placement of dry and wet. Excess soil. What do I do with it? I've now dug out some soil that I don't want. I've replaced it. I've amended the soil that's there. Well, consider creating a berm to hold what water's there so it has time to percolate, hauling it away, putting it in a compost, bare spots in your landscape, or maybe your neighbor could use it. All right? Here are some examples, and we'll run through these rather quickly. I'm sorry, some of the pictures did not want to take here, so you see, there's a nice berm on this one, and you can see the source of water is right here. What they've done is actually they wanted to make their rain garden towards the edge of the yard, so they actually ran the downspout underground, put sod over it, and then put rocks. So it actually is a downspout that's feeding that garden, but it's hidden. Okay? Some of them don't even look like rain gardens. I imagine some of you have probably walked past rain gardens and didn't even know you were walking past rain gardens. Before installation and after, you can see they put a nice berm of rocks around here. Allows for people maybe to walk around the garden and enjoy it, easier maintenance. Plus, that is a barrier between your grass and your garden so that you can mow easier too. Okay? As you notice, a lot of these are in the Columbus area. Our program today, many of the pictures were provided by the Franklin County Soil and Water Conservation District. They've helped us try to launch our program here in Athens County. Okay. Some before and after pictures. Look at this one right here. July of 2007, just a year later. Okay? These things can establish themselves very rapidly. Look at the control of the water. At 5:30, we had a major rain episode. At 8:30, the water is nearly gone. Okay? And it has not run off into the storm drains. It's percolated down into the groundwater like it's supposed to. Okay? May of 2007, July of 2008, and now in 2009, it's a beautiful garden, just 3 years later. Very established. Here's something that they're doing. They're actually allowing some of the, instead of water going from a driveway or from a roadway into the storm drains, they're actually creating the curbs where it actually will go out of the street and into your rain garden on the edges there. This person down below there, the entire corner is being allowed to drain in. The result of this was 90% reduction in stormwater from neighborhoods with rain gardens. Okay, and remember, that didn't go into the rain garden, went down into the storm drains. Another issue on that is, too, that if the city that you live in does not, they don't treat all the stormwater, as I said, but sometimes those storm drains are connected, actually, with the sewer drains, and sometimes you can have contamination in large rain episodes. So, you know, it's good for us to keep some of that water out of the storm drains for that reason. Okay? Before and after. This actually is the Division of Wildlife rain garden that I spoke of earlier that our statistics covered. Okay, Worthington. This is a great thing around schools. Some of the schools here in these communities, they actually get the kids to help plant it, and then they adopt that rain garden and learn a lot about plants and soil and that sort of thing in the process. Parks, they got really creative with their, probably there was obviously added expense here, but they brought their rain, you know, down a rocky area here into the rain garden. So it depends on how much or how little money you really want to spend on some of these. This one's actually downtown Columbus, near the Lazarus building. Okay, and they used all grasses here for this. And they're taking the storm water right off the street. This one is at the ODOT parking lot on West Broad Street. We actually went to a workshop where we saw them putting this one in. Very interesting. All right. See right here where the downspout is brought down, goes into a rocky bed that directs it right into the rain garden. Now, let's talk a little bit about rain barrels. I also, if you've taken a look at our display over here, this year we not only have the rain gardens, but we also have a rain barrel display. And rain barrels is not a new idea. I'm sure some of you folks can remember the rain barrels out by the barn to gather, big round barrels to gather the water. So this is not a new idea. It's just an old idea that's been brought back in a new way. And when folks started getting city water or they had rural water, they didn't worry as much about gathering water for use around the home. But this is also another way of gathering the water. and being able to use it at a later date. So I would encourage you a little bit later after our presentation here, we'll talk a little bit more about the rain barrel display that we have here. But what I've passed out to you there was borrowed from Erie County Soil and Water, and they we're hoping actually to launch some rain barrel workshops. If any of you, by the way, are interested, Athens Soil and Water Conservation District wrote a grant, and we are in partnership with the City of Athens. This September we'll be putting in 3 demonstration rain gardens within the city. 2 of them will be at the rec center, and 1 will be at the planning office over on Curran Drive. And those gardens, we hope people will be able to visit them and see what a rain garden is. We also hope to do the rain barrel workshops. So if you want a rain barrel to gather water, possibly to water your garden, instead of then using the city water that's been treated and probably has different chemicals in it that they use to treat the water, by getting the rain garden or rain barrel water, you don't have any of that in it. So you can water your gardens, wash your pets, wash your car, whatever, with the water that you gather from a rain barrel. So that's a little bit of information there. I do have some pictures here. Some people don't like the idea of that thing sitting next to their house. Maybe that's not all that attractive. I've seen some very creative ways of decorating these. You can paint them with designs or whatever. You can cover them actually, as you see here, with some fencing material. I've actually seen people take wooden barrels and put a barrel down in the barrel so that it's hidden. It almost looks like a rustic wood barrel gathering that. Here are some examples. I thought the one down in the right-hand corner where they actually put the flowers on top of it was very attractive, I thought. And if you work it in with a rain chain, which we'll talk there, then you're kind of, every rain episode, you have this wonderful rain kind of tinkling down onto your flowers. I think it's very attractive. Okay, here's a combination of a rain garden, rain barrel. All right, these are some sources of information. One of the booklets that might help you design your garden is the Blue Thumb booklet. Rusty Schmidt, Dan Shaw, and David Dodd actually put this together. There are several guys from Minnesota that have made quite an art out of this building of rain gardens. And this booklet, we hope, this spiral notebook, we do hope to have available in our office for purchase later on this fall. So check back with us on that. If any of you folks do have any questions, you might write down our phone number here. We also have our business cards. This is my email address. Feel free to contact us if you need more information or would like to talk about, is my area a good place for a rain garden, or the design that you will have some questions about a design aspect of it. So just let us know if you have any interest in that. We also over here have a sign-up sheet if you're interested in coming to a workshop where we can get into this in a little more depth, talking about your individual designs. Or if you want to participate in a rain barrel workshop where at the end of the workshop you'll have a rain barrel. We'd like to have you sign up on our sheet here, and we'll make sure that we get that information out to you so that you can attend our workshop on that.